Hi everyone, my name is Enrique and welcome to another review. Now I'm reviewing something outside of the X-Men 97. I feel like I've been talking about that series forever, that I needed to do something different, something new. So I decided to go back to the review of the show that I was reviewing at the beginning of the year, which is Creature Commandos. So that's what I'm going to do today. We continue the story of the Creature Commandos and the new direction of the DCU with the episode The Tourmaline Necklace. Once again, we take a look of one of the members of the Creature Commandos. We see how the story progresses and how it connects to one of the characters. So without further ado, let's talk about the second episode. Now, is this an episode focused on the bride and Frankenstein? Now, if you don't know anything about Frankenstein, well, I'll abridge it. Basically, it's about Dr. Victor Frankenstein creating a creature in order to combat death. But in the process, he created a monster, and basically that led him to, let's just say, some wacky shenanigans throughout the entire story. But this is not based on that story. This is closer to the universal monster version of Frankenstein, which is, in my opinion, a lot happier than the ones that I've read. This is the version of the DCU about Frankenstein and how they connected to this series. This is basically the DCU's version of Frankenstein and how it connects to this story in particular. So, we all know Victor Frankenstein created the creature itself, which is also named Frankenstein. And before you say something, Frankenstein is also the name of the monster. One day when I review Frankenstein, any version of Frankenstein, I'll explain why. But yeah, basically, Frankenstein created the creature, it gained sapience. So Frankenstein wanted his father to create a bride for him, and that's one of the focus of this episode. I should also mention that one of the things that this show does is give us individual backstories about each individual of the Creature Commandos. In this episode, we're going to see the bride and her origin. Then the next episode, we're going to see other characters having a flashback and a backstory in regards of how they became what they are and how they ended up in prison and working for, well, the government. So in this flashback, we see that the bride is going back to the castle that she was created, which was in Pokovistan. And this is bringing a lot of flashbacks and memories about how she developed her consciousness, how was the relationship between her, Victor, and the monster, how it made her so cynical, jaded. Although I should mention that in the flashbacks, she's shown to be a lot more happier, much almost like naive at times. But that also changed due to a circumstance that I'll get into in a moment. But what about the other members? What about Phosphorus, G.I. Robot, and Weasel and Rick Flag? Well, they are all in the castle. In the last episode, we were aware that Rick Flag and Phosphorus had a fight, and that ended up with Flag having some injuries, something that he and the princess were stitching up in one of the bathrooms of the castle. And well, oh my god, I can't believe I'm saying this. They ended up having sex in the bathroom. I don't know. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I know it's not supposed to be funny, but the fact that James Gunn, or at the very least the way that James wrote it and director Sam Liu animated it, it was basically them having sex while G.I. Robot, Weasel, and Phosphorus were waiting outside of the bathroom with all the soldiers. And it gets to comedies about basically how they're gonna last. How long are they going to stay there? It's just, oh my god. And every time that soldier is trying to say, do not laugh to Phosphorus, he says, I'm not laughing, I'm not laughing. It looks like I'm laughing because I look like a skeleton. And it says, are you not laughing? Oh, yes, I am, but you don't know. Oh my god. Sorry. It's just legitimately funny for me. I don't know why. Ridiculous. But let's go back to the character of the bride. Is basically telling the story that instead of falling in love with Frankenstein's monster, she fell in love with Victor, her creator. And yes, it leads to a scene that I don't want to even talk about since it is kind of Yui considering the situation. And unfortunately, he made Frankenstein very, very angry, killing his creator, making the bride angry at him, and basically throughout the entire story of this episode, we see her escaping Frankenstein, how at times they were at each other's throats, how the Frankenstein was chasing the bride all over the world in different times, different histories, how he was obsessed with this woman, well, parts of a woman, basically because he thinks that they are meant to be. In the meantime, after the bride had those flashbacks, or during the flashbacks, because it is cutting between some scenes, we see both the bride and Nina, the woman who is an amphibian, fighting Circe and her powers, which basically mean that they were in a losing situation because Circe is known to have sorcery up her wazoo, and while the others were trying to reach to the Dr. Frankenstein's castle, it was a losing battle for both women because they couldn't beat Circe, and in the meantime we see Frankenstein detecting the bride and following her. Yeah, that's exactly how how we see this episode. Basically, the Frankenstein's monster has become a stalker. And that's pretty much the episode in a nutshell. I know it's not much to comment on, but let's, for the sake of, trying to break it down a little bit, what do I think about the episode and the details and all of that? Well, in my opinion, it's not a bad episode. It's a good way for us to be introduced to the bride character. Is one of the things that I appreciate about this entire show. That unlike, say, the Suicide Squad, in which we have to see or hear about the backstory for one or two characters, in this they have the advantage of not only having one episode dedicated to one character, but also see how they became to be, the backstory, how they got their powers, and how it intertwines with their decisions in the present time. Something that I really enjoy, allow me to connect the dots and to get behind the characters. Because one of the things that I like about this is how they have their own the humanity, how they were basically robbed of a chance of happiness, and how they try to move forward, whether it was their choice or not. And that's something that I really enjoy about this episode in particular. It was basically about the bride's perspective, how she came to be, how she developed her feelings, her thoughts, her emotions, how instead of falling in love with a monster like Frankenstein, he actually fell in love with her creator. Yeah, whether you like it or not. There was a scene of them in which they express their love, which, yeah, it's a sex scene. And while I understand the tone is basically bizarre, in animated form is you can get away with it sometimes. It's kind of weird when I have to see basically a creation or basically a character from Mary Shelley's novel having sex with her own creation, and ugh, describing it is even eerie for me. But that's the point of this. The bride fell in love with Victor. Frankenstein didn't like that, so he killed his own creator, and that made the brides not only sad but angry and very vengeful towards Frankenstein. And that's where we see her perspective, that she wanted to have a chance of happiness only for Frankenstein's monster to take it away from her. Which is kind of the themes of Frankenstein. Like, he wants to live among people, but ended up making mad decisions that resulted in death and destruction. It's kind of in the same spirit of Mary Shelley's novel, but with a little bit of a bizarre twist of James Gunn's mind, whether for better or worse. But yeah, I actually enjoyed the performance of the actress. The woman who does the voice of the bride, Indira Barma, is doing a great job. Flip flopping from being naive and submissive to be jaded and cynical, which is something that I enjoy for her performance. David Harbour as Frankenstein, my God. If Red Guardian was the best character in the MCU for him, this is his best character in the DCU, because he turns this character into a psychopath, into a kid-friendly guy, into a teddy bear, into an obsessive compulsive, to a vengeful creature. Basically, the kind of aspects that we like about Frankenstein, that he is a monster but with feelings. I should also mention that Peter Serafinowicz, the man who was the Tick in a TV series, as well as working with James Gunn in Guardians of the Galaxy, is the voice of Victor Frankenstein. So I deeply appreciated that. And I hope we don't see this. I don't see the last time of Peter Serafinowicz in the DCU, because I really hope that the character or the actor could do more roles. I mean, if Alan Tudyk can get multiple roles in the DCU, why not Peter Serafinowicz? And more than a live action version, because that's something that I want to see more. And he has acting skills and very, very good skills of voice to develop. So yeah, I hope we can see more of that. So, what about the rest of the characters? Frank Grillo, hilarious alongside Maria Bakalova as Princess Ilana. And both of them, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but the chemistry between them is almost like weird for some reason. But like I said, it gave me a smile on my face when they had that scene. And I don't know why, but it was hilarious. It was hilarious, and it was more hilarious to listen to Alan Tudyk as Dr. Phosphorus making remarks about how long they're gonna last in the bathroom, or how G.I. Robot and Weasel are waiting without saying a word. Sean Gunn as both G.I. Robot and the Weasel is comedy gold. I don't know why he's so versatile, but hey, if this guy could get the role of Maxwell Lord in the DCU, I think anything is possible. Although that would mean nepotism, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I'm James Gunn. I'm not saying that this is literal nepotism, but it's kind of suspect. I'm just saying it's suspicious. Just saying. But yeah. Oh, and I gotta say, Anya Charlotta as Cersei is not only menacing, but also hilarious. And we don't know her plans alongside the Sons of Themyscira on why they want to kill Princess Ilana, but we're going to see her mindset in a couple of episodes. And no, we don't see a backstory for Cersei. She's the only one who you will believe that she's going to be the main villain of the series, but just keep it tuned. Stay tuned, because you will see a lot of surprises. Regardless of that, the episode, like I said, is very short, for me at the very least, but it brings me a sense of connection between the bride and the Creature Commandos, how she became to be, and it's good to see the story progressing, and to see that the heroes, or the kind of heroes of this story, don't win against the sorcerer. I mean, how could they do? That brings me to the animation. Beautiful animation. Once again, Sam Liu is so great with these type of animations. And it's good to see that they're continuing the story. The action sequences are great, and how it intertwines with the present day. Beautiful. It's 5 out of 10. No, 10 out of 10, sorry, for this animation. Always great to see. And we're going to see in the next episode. So, yeah, overall, I like the episode and I hope to continue in the future. So, with that said, what do you guys think? Do you like the episode? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comment section below. Always remember that I'm now on Spotify, so follow me there, as well as in YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So I hope you guys had a good day. And next week, well, I'm not gonna review another Creature Commando episode, but I'm going to review another episode from another show. So until then, I'm been Enrique, and I'll see you next time. Peace.